Howdy, and welcome to the Texas Bucket List. My name is Shane McAuliffe. This week, a special episode dedicated to the State Fair of Texas. This annual celebration is a big part of what makes Texas, Texas. From the food, the fun, the football, to even the architecture, everything around here is a unique part of the celebration, and we're going to dig into all of it. First up, we dig into the fair itself, the history of Fair Park, and we get the whole story behind Big Tex. The State Fair of Texas is iconic. Throughout the year, images of Big Tex, corny dogs, football, and the fair itself flutter in the minds of Texans ready for the annual fall event. This Texas-sized affair wasn't an overnight success, but over the decades, it became a destination, and it all started over 100 years ago. How did the State Fair get started?
Well, in 1886, the group of area businessmen in this area decided they need to have an exposition.
Rusty Fitzgerald is the Senior Vice President of Operations at the State Fair of Texas, and he's been a part of it since 2001.
It's the most Texan place on earth. I always look forward to opening day.
From making sure all is well in the Midway to maintaining just about every aspect of the fair, Rusty doesn't let the rust set in during the 24 days of craziness that sits on 277 acres, attracting 2.5 million people.
A lot of times I'll get in bed before midnight and I'm up at 3 a.m. So.
Wow. Only Big Tex is expected to stand taller and longer than Rusty does.
Everybody starts off, you have to see Big Tex.
One of the major milestones of making your pilgrimage is getting your picture taken in front of this long, tall Texan, who happened to say ho, ho, ho before his iconic
Big Tex started off as Santa Claus in Kearns, Texas. Basically, Kearns wanted a gimmick to get people to come to their town, so they kind of thought, hey, we'll build a giant Santa Claus. It worked in 1949, 1950, it kind of worked, but it wasn't new anymore.
Sure.
And so in 1951, R.L. Thornton, he was the president of the fair and he's former Dallas mayor, went down there and purchased Big Tex, or the giant Santa Claus, for $750. He debuted the fair in 1952 and didn't do much. And then in 1953, he started talking.
In 2012, Big Tex burned down to the ground due to an electrical short. But he was brought back bigger and better.
Old Big Tex was made out of chicken wire, baling wire, a little bitty steel frame. Big Tex back then weighed 6,000 pounds. The Big Tex today is an engineered Big Tex. He can withstand a hurricane. Might blow his clothes off, but he's gonna still stand. He weighs 26,000 pounds now.
Gosh.
He's 55 foot tall.
With his 95-gallon hat and his size 96 boots, Big Tex is hard to miss. But then again, so is the Midway.
The atmosphere of the Midway at night, it's almost like a shot of adrenaline.
Here, you'll find 74 rides, including the Texas Star Ferris wheel, standing at 212 feet, the Texas Skyway, transporting folks across the fairgrounds, and the Topo Texas Tower, that has its own unique distinction.
It's a world record, most slender, tallest ride of its kind. It's 500 feet tall.
If you prefer to see things at ground level, not to worry, there's plenty for you too. Including a unique collection of buildings that have been a part of Fair Park for nearly 100 years.
In terms of Art Deco architecture, this is the largest collection of Art Deco architecture under single ownership anywhere in the world.
Norman Alston is a Dallas architect that grew up in Garland. He's also a Longhorn.
Hook 'em horns! Yeah!
The only thing he's more passionate about is preserving the history of these structures built in 1936 to commemorate Texas's independence from Mexico.
The Alamo was the place where Texas really found itself, and there were a lot of sacrifices made, sacrificed lives to make Texas happen. The Texas Centennial Exposition, 100 years later, celebrated all the accomplishments, all the freedoms, all the things that had happened because of those sacrifices 100 years earlier. So this is both a celebration and a memorial to those who really gave their all to form Texas.
Modern, state-of-the-art, and visually stunning, the buildings were central to the celebration. But as the years have gone by,
Fair Park has been trying to figure out what it's supposed to be when it grows up, ever since 1937.
fortunately, the fair gives these stucco structures a chance to shine, something Chief Architect George Dahl wanted to do in a unique way, so he helped create a sort of new style with these projects.
He refers to this style, this variation on Art Deco, as Texanic architecture. That's a term I like to throw around quite a bit. It is Art Deco, but it is unique to Dallas, it is unique to Texas, and reflects a lot of things that he thought were specific for here.
Symbols of the Lone Star State can be found on every corner, mixed in with typical Art Deco details. But the granddaddy of all the buildings is the Hall of State by Texas architect Donald Bartholomew.
Everything about that is art.
The fair definitely does things big, and that includes these beautiful buildings.
This whole idea of everything's bigger in Texas can be traced to this, I think, because of the large architecture.
Now, these are only a few things that make the fair so fun and unique. There's also a massive car show where you never know who you'll run into, and a rodeo, of course. But coming up next, we're heading to the food hall to show off the crazy creations that the State Fair is famous for. Well, thanks for watching this segment of the Texas Bucket List. To see more, be sure you subscribe to our channel, and to see full episodes, become a member. In the meantime, you can also shop our store at the Texas Bucket List store and studio.